Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Locks Don't Lie Weekend Preview Show. I'm your host, Tony Betts. Before we get to Tony NASCAR and Tony NFL, let's review our betting weekend that was. It was a great weekend here at Locks Don't Lie, as you got an outright cashed in Bubba Wallace plus 1,800 for the Cup Series race at Kansas, and that was only the tip of the iceberg for our weekend, as we finished plus 20.94 units on the weekend in total over our NASCAR and NFL picks. Cannot complain about that week one in the NFL. As you see, our final records for the weekend and for the seasons. Our prop record, 45, 34, and 2, plus 8 units overall. Love that start for the props. A lot of props in week one. That's pretty insane from Tony NFL. 52, 36, and 2. 59% total in the NFL, plus 20 units. And then we got our NASCAR here. 86, 341, plus 116 units. 43% ROI. What a Cup Series season we are having with 7 races left. Let's not waste any time. Let's bring in Tony NASCAR. Tony NASCAR, step on in here. You've been having a great month of September, Tony. I know you're excited to get going again. We're at Bristol. I know you're ready for Bristol, baby. Tony, I am excited for Bristol, coming off of 2 straight outrights in the Cup Series.
They want it back to back.
Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace. About 60-plus units over the Cup Series in the last 2 weeks. You can't ask for anything else. We have the Xfinity Series regular season finale, Cup Series Round 1 elimination race. It's Bristol, baby. I'm excited. Stacked weekend ahead of us, Tony. Why don't you go ahead and preview the Food City 300 for the Xfinity Series? Indeed, a stacked weekend ahead of us, Tony. The Xfinity Series regular season finale at Bristol, coming off of a great Truck Series race last night. And if we take a quick look at the points, let's pop them up behind me here. Tony, you can see right down here at the bottom, we are getting close. You got Sheldon Creed, who has slowly been making his way back up the points as he's had a very hot summer and seemed to finally figure out these Xfinity cars coming up from the Truck Series last year. You might want to take a look at Sheldon Creed this week, because it always seems like the narrative is a playoff driver has to win to get in, and that driver who needs to win to get in usually ends up winning. Sheldon Creed has been knocking on the door the last couple weeks. I see no reason why he won't be running up front this week, at least being a contender. Starting off with a long shot, Tony. You know I love the long shots, but do you have any favorites up here that you want to highlight before we move on to the Cup Series, or is it just long shots this week? Tony, I gave you a week off last week and it bit me in the ass. I want to highlight Junior Motorsports this week. Last year at this track, we had one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen in NASCAR history. That green-white checkered was absolutely electrifying, with A.J. Allmendinger crossing the line sideways for the win and clinching the regular season points championship.
I cannot believe what I just saw.
That is what the Bristol night race is all about. Tempers flaring.
Wouldn't do that.
Paint trading.
Kick out. Okay, he got into it right there.
Beating and banging for the win.
Terry got into me in the middle of 3 and 4, and I was going to get back to him and just rattle him. I wasn't going to wreck him, but I got to him and he turned him around. So didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rattle his cage over.
The race was dominated by Justin Allgaier, who finished in second and wrecked out his teammate to lead to this actual last restart. Sam Mayer with about 7 to go for second place. I'm looking at all 4 of the Junior Motorsports cars, but these odds are not very good. As you see behind me, we got Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, Justin Allgaier, the favorites, all between 3 and 4 to 1. Some juicy numbers down here on Josh Berry, who is a short track guy, and Sam Mayer, who is running in second at the end of the last race. I think we should see him up front again, and you should see Junior Motorsports up front with Ty Gibbs. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to bring myself to these odds on the favorites, but I might sprinkle a little bit this week in the Xfinity Series on some of these long shots under 10 to 1 that I just highlighted, Tony. Well, Tony, if we can get anything like that last Xfinity Series race, I know all NASCAR fans are going to be happy.
I cannot believe what I just saw.
Why don't we move on from that as we have an elimination race in round 1 of the NASCAR playoffs for the Cup Series. Go ahead, take over. That's right, Tony. It is about to get crazy at the Bristol night race here for the Cup Series. As we take a look at the points, It is getting tight, and we have had some bad races from some drivers who accumulated big points over the year, leading to a lot of shifting in the points here right before the cut race. As you can see, very, very close down here at the bottom. And I'm not sure if this is correct statistically, but as long as I can remember, in this format, I'm not sure if we've ever gone into a round one elimination race without at least one driver locking himself in to the next round with a win. All 16 of these guys could win this race and lock themselves in no matter what their point situation is. It's going to get insane. This is one of my favorite races all year, the Bristol night race, the last great Coliseum. I certainly hope it's sold out because that is one of the best sights in sports. All those fans ringing around Bristol as those cars are going around in 13 seconds, Tony. And if you look at these points and see Ross Chastain right there, 26 points above the cut line as a plus 3,600 Ross Chastain to win the championship preseason better, I'm absolutely terrified for this race, Tony, and I have been for the entire playoffs. I'd be pretty nervous too. Old Ross has not been making too many friends out there in the Cup Series this year. Good bet, not a lot of friends. Let's pop up the odds behind me, Tony. Who are you liking for outrights this week? Yeah, Tony, looking at the last race we ran at Bristol, it was the Bristol dirt track race. We're throwing that out of here.
When taking out the trash, here's what you do first. Take the full trash bag out of the plastic trash bin. The final step in our sequence is to take the full trash bag outside and put it in the garbage can.
Except for maybe we're probably going to see Tyler Reddick running back up front. One driver who's been in the news this week. What? One driver who's always fast at this track. What? One driver who I'd keep my eyes on. What? Kyle Busch.
Give me a hell yeah. What? What?
We're looking at the odds behind us, and it does not look like he is a favorite. He's one of the favorites, not the favorite, though. Kyle Busch, always fast at this track, and coming off of his huge announcement.
I'll be taking my talents to welcome North Carolina to drive the number 8 car for Richard Childress Racing,
where he's going to be driving the number 8 for RCR and booting Tyler Reddick out of there. I expect Kyle Busch, with the monkey off of his back, to finally come out and get a solid race finish, finally put a race together for his race team right here on the cut line, and maybe grabbing something pre-practice, pre-qualifying if the number at my book looks anything like the number at the drivers. Otherwise, I'm looking at, of course, at the top of the list, Kyle Larson won this race last year in dominant fashion. I'm going to be looking at him as obviously one of the favorites to take this home, but you also have to be scared and look out for his Hendrick teammate, Chase Elliott. It's Bristol. Remember, Chase kept bringing up Bristol after this Watkins Glen incident right here.
I don't know why I keep saying Bristol. Yeah, for some reason I had Bristol on the line.
For some reason, he just kept bringing up Bristol in elimination race. These two are stacked on top of each other here in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and they're going to be stacked on top of each other all weekend long. I expect Chase and Kyle to be running in the top 5, to be running around each other, and it to get really good towards the end of this race. As I mentioned earlier with the Kyle Busch announcement, Tyler Reddick could be coming with some vengeance with them booting him out of his 8 car. I said after his interview at the regular season finale that Tyler Reddick in the first 3 races was an auto bet if he was above 10-1, and he's above 10-1 this week, so most likely Tyler Reddick is going to be on the card for an outright. He said he loved the first 3 races of the playoffs. In an interview post-race at Daytona, I expect Tyler Reddick to be driving up front and that 8 car to be in the top 5, top 10 all race as well, Tony. Well, you know, we're big Red Dog fans on this channel, Tony. Is there anybody else below 10-1 that you like, or are you just looking at the favorites this week? Unfortunately, Tony, with the way these odds look and just the way Bristol is, I'm not sure how much really exposure I'm going to have this weekend. But I do know, pre-practice, pre-qualifying, I am going to be looking to see what the number is at my book for Reddick, Chastain, and Bill Byron. Looking at these odds that are posted at the DraftKings Sportsbook, it looks like there's a chance that Bill Byron could open at decently low odds, and I expect him to be running up front as he's been racing very well since the playoffs start. Other than that, Tony, I'm not sure if I can grab any of the favorites. Maybe Kyle Larson, maybe Denny Hamlin, but I don't know about the favorites right now. I think pre-practice, pre-qualifying, all I want to do is grab some of those long shots and get on out of here. Tony, excellent notes as always. I thank you for taking your time again for another week. I'll see you next week. Very excited for Bristol this week. We love the Bristol night race here at Locks Don't Lie, but it's time to move on. It's week 2 of the NFL and the main event of the evening. Tony NFL has entered the building. Tony, what a week you had last week. A lot of exposure, but a lot of W's.
Let's go. That's a W.
Talk about it. Yeah, Tony, I usually have a lot of bets every NFL Sunday, but 45 bets for just the 1 o'clock hour. I never thought I would do that ever in my life. 45 bets, sides, totals, and props in the 1 o'clock hour, and we hit at a 66% rate. It was stress-free football viewing for most of the day, Tony. It was actually a great Sunday of football. Crazy Sunday of football. Finished the week, as you highlighted earlier, 52, 36, and 2 in total, including NFL props, plus 20 units. We love seeing that to start out week 1. We will never
have never, and The Rock means
ever have 90 bets in one NFL Sunday again. Week 1 is the time to take shots, especially on props, as you guys could tell by my absolute insane volume of props. With that record finishing at 45, 34, and 2. I'll never have that type of exposure again, Tony. It was very stressful leading up to the day. I just thank the good Lord for those 1 o'clock kicks. Tony, 90 bets, hitting at a 59% rate in the sharpest market in betting, the NFL. That's awesome, man. I mean, I haven't heard anything like that on this show. I don't know anybody else who had 90 bets last week and was putting them out publicly and hit 59% publicly. That's pretty impressive, Tony. I'm very excited for this year. I know your volume isn't going to be that much, but why don't we move on? Give us a matchup that you're looking forward to, and then we'll move on to Sunday Night Football. Yeah, Tony, I got another stinker for you this week.
What smells rotten and puts people to sleep?
Steelers, Pats. I love this game. First of all, you guys remember the stats from last week. Rah-rah Mike Tomlin.
That Mike Tomlin show, that's a hell of a show. You need to watch that on a weekly basis.
As an underdog, he's getting my money every single time. This line opened at plus 2.5, got bet down to +1 very quickly. I got that money line at plus 102. And Tony, I also love the under 42.5 of this game. That's where it opened at. I was able to grab that right away Sunday night on open. Looks like it's gotten bet down to 40. I'm not really sure how I feel about that number specifically, but I love my under in 42.5, and hopefully it can get bet up throughout the week so you guys can grab some of that on Sunday. I'll take Tomlin as a dog.
Appreciate the small victories today. This may be attrition ball, right? It might be nasty. Stay in the grind, keep pounding the rock. We're going to break it. It ain't going to break it soon enough for all of us, I know. Stay in the fight. Nice job.
And give me that under, Tony. What a slobber knocker, Tony. Go over the Sunday Night Football game. Yep, Tony, the main event for our football Sunday is Bears-Packers in Lambeau Field as we have an NFC North battle between Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. The Green Bay Packers looked abysmal last week against the Minnesota Vikings, but I don't expect that to keep up this week or even for the rest of the season. Missing 3 key starters, starting left tackle David Bakhtiari, starting right guard Elton Jenkins, and starting number 1 wide receiver and the wide receiver who has the most rapport with Aaron Rodgers right now, Allen Lazard. All 3 of those guys have a chance to come back in week 2. I expect them to be back in week 2, really helping this offense, and I expect the Packers to pick up like nothing was lost. And what did we really learn from the Bears last week? They played in a rainforest. That game was an absolute mess. What a game to watch, but that game was an absolute mess, and you really can't take away anything from either team. This is basically week 1 for the 49ers and the Bears all over. So we're going to back up the Aaron Rodgers against Chicago, Aaron Rodgers in prime time, and Aaron Rodgers at home in the division. All of those trends, absolutely incredible.
What the f*** has Kyle Petty got to do with this?
Right here, as you can see, 20-7 ATS against the Chicago Bears in his career, 38-27 and 2 ATS in primetime games, and 26-12 against the spread against the NFC North at home. Give me Aaron Rodgers -10, -9.5, whatever you're able to find at your book. Well, other than you giving us no good matchups to go over with, Tony, I do appreciate your time here. Thank you for the information on Sunday Night Football. Hopefully we get a better matchup next week. I'll see you next week, buddy. Before we wrap things up here, why don't we go over all of our official picks for the weekend, as I know we have an absolutely stacked card. Please, if you like what you saw, hit that thumbs up down there, as it really helps me in the algorithm. And if you don't want to miss a second of reactions or best bets for all NFL and the remainder of the NASCAR playoffs, hit that sub button down below and that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post. Otherwise, let's move on to the official picks here, as we have a stacked card, as always, for the weekend. Let's take a look. Let's start with the Xfinity Series race, the Food City 300, as we got half of a unit on Sam Mayer and some college football action on Friday night as well. Over 47 in the Wyoming Air Force game. Saturday, as you can see here, we have got 7 college football plays. Let's go over all of them real quick. Starting out ugly like a bad Tinder date, we have Nebraska plus 11.5. They got Scott Frost out of there. Let's see if those boys actually want to start playing now. Syracuse -1 against Purdue. Buffalo plus 14 against Coastal Carolina. Under 46.5 New Mexico State and Wisconsin. Over 57 Kansas Houston. Iowa -23. Hopefully that defense can score us 3 touchdowns, because I have no clue how that offense is scoring even 2. But Nevada, bottom of the barrel. I could probably beat Nevada by myself out there. And then our final play so far, USF. Those Bulls going up to Gainesville to play the Gators. Give me USF plus 24.5. And then we got some Saturday night NASCAR Cup Series racing. We got 4 drivers. The Red Dog, 12-1. Ryan Blaney, 14-1. Wild Bill Byron, 16-1. Then we got a full unit plus 1175 on KFB, the man in the news this weekend. I can't believe that one of my books opened him actually above 10-1. Tony Nascar hammered that right away. And we'll move on here to Sunday. 7 of the 13 games that kick off on Sunday, we have bets on so far, and I guarantee you that number will get added on as our player props will open up. Unfortunately, it seems like player props at my book this year is going to start opening around Saturday afternoon, so I'm not going to have any bets until Saturday night, Sunday morning. Those will be on the lock list at 12:30 on Twitter, so make sure you tune in to @LocksDoNotLie on Twitter at 12:30. Let's go over these bets real quick as we are starting out. Detroit -1.5 against those commies. New Orleans +3 against Skinny Face Tom. Under 40 in the Jets-Browns. And them damn Falcons disappointed us last week. I cannot believe they did it to me again. I can't believe the Falcons are actually the Falcons, to be honest with you. +10.5. Under 42 and the Pittsburgh money line in Pittsburgh, New England. And then we will take the Jags +4.5 and on the money line +175. You see the trends right here. Jags at home against the Colts have been world beaters. 6-0 the last 6 years against the spread and straight up. covering by an average of 22 points, winning by an average of 15 points. Those Colts cannot win in Jacksonville. Give me the Jags line to get their first win of the season. And then we have our final two bets here. As you can see, the YOLO underdog parlay and the Tony teaser of the week. We have in the Tony teaser of the week getting above those key numbers 3, 4, and 7, the Panthers and the Saints. I just think these are the two best numbers to tease right now. You get above those 3 key numbers, you get a touchdown in what should be a close game in both of those games. And then for our YOLO underdog parlay of the day, much pain. Look at this. I can't believe it. This almost cashed. Let's see if we can cash one. Not quite as big right here. We might have a big one that we build Sunday morning on stream, but this is what we got so far. 3 teams, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and the Panthers money line. Give me all of that plus money. Parlay them all together for just over 11-1 odds. That's going to wrap it up here for the Locks Don't Lie weekend preview show. Good luck this weekend. May the winners be yours. Locks don't lie.